Hello, Oracles. So much to talk about today. I didn't know where to start between Tesla having some breaking news potentially out of Austin with production, and then Jerome Powell giving us a lot of information about what the feds around the world are talking about. Wasn't sure where to go, but we talk about Tesla mostly on here, so I'm going with Tesla first. So we'll talk about the Fed in the morning. So when it comes to Tesla, potential breaking news that we got out of Austin when it comes to production. Now, this news didn't seem to help the stock much today, as it was free falling early in the morning, but it did seem to recover a little bit as this news grabbed a little more traction. Seems like initially the stock dropped down in the morning because of, the news of the layoffs that were still going on, and it just starting to hit the headlines this morning. So that could potentially be why it was red to start. We finished down 1.79%, still closing under $700. Again, to me, this is great buying times. I added $10 at $678 today, so I was happy with that. And so what was the news that we got? Well, earlier today, Electrek had reported that they have insider sources telling them that they are producing 5,000 vehicles per week out of Austin. And, knowing that we have the long-range Model Ys coming out of Austin right now, they said that is the reason why, because they've got this factory line up and running, they're being able to produce more. They also have a second source that says that 2,000 vehicles per week are coming out of there for the same reason. So, of course, this sounds very exciting. That's awesome, especially coming into the end of the quarter push, trying to get as many production vehicles out as possible. But doing what we always talk about on here is take your emotions out, take a step back, and ask all of the logical questions that could possibly be asked and figure out, is this really what is going on? I want to be bullish, I want to be super excited about this, but I've got to be realistic. So a lot of the questions that I'm asking myself are, first off, is this even possible? Or is this just the capacity of what they have right now? Are they really producing 5,000 vehicles? Or is this just the capability of producing 5,000 vehicles? Is this just an end of the quarter short-term push? Or is this actual sustainable production at this rate? Is this the end of the quarter push and the reason why Elon has been off of Twitter? Is he focusing on Austin right now to get out as many vehicles as possible? So, asking myself these questions, all right, well, let's take a look at some of the answers. Well, we know, based on what Elon had told us, that just within the last few weeks, they got the 2170 tooling that they needed to be able to produce these vehicles. So we do have confirmation that some long-range 2170s are coming out of Austin right now. That is great news. But if they just got the tooling within the last 3 weeks, and Berlin has had it from the beginning, how is it possible that Berlin is not up to this speed, but Austin is? Maybe is it because Elon is there pushing the team a lot faster? Maybe they have different stuff going on there. Maybe there's more lines of production going on in Austin. There's a lot we do not know about Austin. So these are questions that I don't know the answers to. So again, I want to remain bullish, but I need to remain realistic and ask these questions. We'll find out for sure on Saturday when we get production numbers. But is it really feasible for them to have gotten themselves in 3 weeks up to 5,000 vehicles per week? 2,000 vehicles per week, maybe with a strong push going on if they're running around the clock. But again, we don't know if that's actually happening there. And even if we factor in the fact that they are putting out the 4680 vehicles as well, they're still not going to come close because the 4680s are ramping significantly below 1,000 vehicles per week. And Berlin just hit 1,000 vehicles per week a couple weeks ago. So, it took them a long time to get there. Berlin is now going to be opening up potentially a third shift coming on July 4th. So again, even with that third shift, that might push them to 2,000 vehicles per week. So even if Austin had 3 shifts going, maybe they're pushing 2,000 vehicles per week. 5,000 does seem like a lot. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on it yourself, and what other questions do you have about this? Because again, I want to remain bullish, but I also want to realize that this does not seem like it's actually possible at this point. But then I do take a step back and I'm like, all right, let's say this is very bullish. Let's say they actually are pushing this hard and getting this many vehicles out right now. So if that is the case, are they doing this because they're just that far behind? Or are they doing it because this is the rabbit that Elon says they're going to pull out of a hat and actually beat Q1 numbers? Now again, based upon the amount of downtime they had, there was a lot of ground they had to make up from Shanghai. I mean, you figure they were close to 3,000 vehicles per day. And so if we're pushing out 5,000 vehicles per week out of Austin, and it was only going on for the last 2 to 3 weeks, there's no way they're going to be making up that ground. So I don't think that this is going to be the rabbit out of the hat, but maybe they fall somewhere in the middle, and maybe they do end up hitting that 270 to 275,000 vehicle mark if this is the case. And so again, I've got a lot more questions than answers, and we will have these answers on Saturday, so we'll just have to be patient and wait. But I've got to think realistically, logically, I cannot fathom them being able to put out 5,000 vehicles per week after just getting the tooling for the 2170s within the last 3 weeks. Does not seem feasible to me. 2,000 vehicles per week? Perhaps. I can go with maybe 2,000 vehicles per week as a capacity right now, because that would make sense if you line it up with what Berlin has got going on over there. Now, maybe they have multiple lines running that Berlin doesn't have. So maybe the capacity to put out 5,000 vehicles per week in Austin is a reality. Again, still more questions than answers. We don't know, but just putting pieces together, I think we're going to have maybe a little bit of a surprise above analyst estimates, which are around that 256,000 vehicle mark coming at the end of the week. But again, that's still going to be very short of what Q1 numbers were, but this is still what we all anticipated as being a one-time, one-off deal. We know this is just going to be a small bump in the road that when we look back at it a year or 2 years from now, we're going to completely forget this even happened and probably look at it as a time we're going, I wish I had invested more during all of that FUD time when everybody's like, look at how poor Tesla's doing. Tesla's failing with Q2 numbers. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen when we look back at this time, but again, it's just going to be a blip on the radar in the long-term picture. And if for some reason these numbers and rumors are true, watch out because the stock is going to really take off, especially if Tesla can say that yes, 5,000 vehicles per week is happening right now and it is sustainable. If those two things come from Tesla and we hear from them directly that that is what's going on, you can forget about any thoughts about Q2 numbers not doing well because nobody's going to care. Sure, maybe their financials don't come in exactly where they might think because of Shanghai being down for so long, but everybody's going to overlook that because if Austin goes from like 150 vehicles per week to 5,000 per week and it's sustainable, everybody's going to be looking at Q3 and Q4 and going forward. So it's going to be nuts in the stock price if that actually does come to fruition. And so other bullish news that I got today, which again, we go back to analysts and we're getting a lot of analyst updates over the last week because usually analysts come out with the last 2 weeks of the quarter or when analysts start to do all of their updates and adjustments to their estimates. So today we got one from a bear from Citigroup, and his name is Itay Michaelli. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And so he actually came in with some bearish stuff about Q2, which we all kind of expected. You know, he has estimates, and even his estimates for deliveries are 258,000, which are higher than most everybody else's estimates who are bulls. And even for 2023, he had much higher estimates for financials than most of everybody else. So even though he has a sell rating with a price target of $375, his fundamental thesis behind Tesla right now is more bullish than some bulls. So when I look at analysts, this is why I always say I'm looking at what the fundamentals are that analysts are looking at. So if the analysts are showing fundamentals growing for a company, that's what I pay attention to. Because you can change some gross margins on things, you can change a PE ratio, and that will change your price target significantly. So yeah, if he's got numbers where I have numbers for financials, but he's got a PE ratio of like 20, then sure, the price target's going to be significantly lower than where I've got it. So that's why I don't pay attention to their price targets. I always pay attention to their fundamentals. And even the bears are showing strong fundamentals for Tesla in the future. And for me, it doesn't really get much more bullish than that. When you've got haters being bullish about the strength of a company, what more do you want? What more do you need to say, I am going to buy into this stock? Because this company is doing extremely well, even to the people who don't think that they are worth the price that they are at now. And you got to think about it for yourself. You got to look at self-worth. You know, to one person, you may be worth absolutely nothing, but to someone else, you are the world to them. So this is why price targets mean nothing, because this person can think, hey, this company is going to be really strong in the future, but I wouldn't put my money on them. Meanwhile, somebody else can be like, you know what, I think this company has a chance. They're not going to, be superstars, but for me, I would put my money on them. That's why price targets don't matter. That's why always look at the fundamentals, and every single analyst is showing strong fundamentals. Even Gordon Johnson is saying that Tesla is showing strong fundamentals. Gordon Johnson, number 67, Gordon Johnson is saying this. So overall, we don't know in the near term where the stock price is going to go. It is weighed very heavily on the macro. I'm going to discuss more about the macro in the morning, about inflation and where that could potentially have a U-turn coming in the near future. So that's another bullish sign. But when you're in the near term, the stock price can go anywhere. But thinking about how you look at a trajectory, Tesla can swing 30% up or down significantly, because that's just how Tesla trades in the near term. But you got to remember, if they're on an uphill trend over the next 5 to 10 years, and they're trading 30% up and down off of this, that means that in 5 years, 30% down is still going to be significantly higher than where we are right now. So that's why long-term holding is so important, because right now we're on the downside. So if you're buying in the lower 30% during an upward trajectory, you're going to be nowhere but winning in the future. Sure, you got to decide what the future is. If the future is 6 months down the road, sure, maybe we do pull back. Maybe this economy does crash. It's totally possible. But on the flip side, it's still going to be going up in 3 to 5 years after that. So what is your time horizon? Because if your time horizon is 5 years down the road, then whether you buy now or a little bit lower or a little bit higher, really isn't going to matter, because most likely we're going to be significantly higher than where we are right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys feel about these rumors that are coming out of Austin? Do you think that they're hitting 2,000 vehicles per week? Do you think that they're hitting 5,000 vehicles per week? Let me know your thoughts, because I'm really curious, and if you have any other questions, that's what I do. I ask a lot of questions, and if you guys can present some questions as well to help the thinking and logic go forward, that would be extremely helpful. So please share them in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is in the description. And if you would like to support the channel any further, I do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.